So I'm curious first, what time did you get back to Manhattan last night?
It was pretty late, about 12:30, I think was the time. So, but it's always whenever you win, it's always a lot nicer.
Yeah.
Not too worried about what time it is, so you just enjoy the happy plane ride back.
And then what time do you get back? So you get back at 12:30. You get home at 1:30. When do you get back at it in the morning?
Well, you don't go to sleep. You're just so excited from the win, you just go right into the next scout. So just go right into Texas Tech. Knowing how good they are makes you anxious and nervous.
Right.
But it makes you want to get back at it. And obviously that's been how resilient our guys are because we keep them resilient. We never get down too high or low. Or try to make them focus on the good or the bad. We just try to make them stay even keel.
On that point, I asked Bruce last week, coming off the West Virginia loss, do you have to tell him more? Hey, you guys are 5-5 and this thing's okay, or do you have to remind them more like, hey, that game's not okay? Because I'm just curious if the team needs more of the positive reinforcement at that point or the critical reinforcement.
I just think it just needs to know where we are. I don't think it's either. In athletics, it's about wins and losses and where you are and where you're not. And you just got to 5-5 is in the middle.
Yeah.
And it's average, but in our league, that's pretty good right now when you see where ranked teams are in our team. And if you look at the projected 7 teams in, TCU's as good as they are, they're still 4-7 in our league.
Right.
And that's the depth of our league. That's the parity, and it shows how good of coaches we have in our league.
So you talk about you get to 6-5 beating Texas. I know every win is huge, and you can look at every one and say how big it was. But how necessary was that after what had happened against KU and West Virginia to get that done?
It was more necessary after West Virginia because when you don't compete the right way to finish a game, if you're a competitive person, it sits with you, and that sat with our guys. And when you watch it on film, they didn't see how they were playing, but to watch it the next day and allow them to be critical of themselves was more important. We didn't have to say anything. We made them talk. We split the groups. We had bigs, and then we split it between the guards, and we watched separately. So we forced them to tell us what happened and tell us why it happened and what do we need to do next time and how can we get back to having that winning mojo that we had, for that 4-0 segment right there in the middle.
Right. You've talked so much about just the importance of experience, in this league and with this team of guys like Barry and Cam and Dean. Was that something you couldn't do with previous years? You couldn't do something to go watch tape by themselves, before this group got so experienced?
No, I mean, it was just too big of a gap in between old and new. You had, Wes and DJ, and then there was a 2-year gap.
Right.
So it was something that they had to go through. Now there's no gap. It's class on top of the other. So now when you go through stuff, there's no drop off. Because you look at the older guys, the juniors. You look at X and how he is, and then now you've added Cardi, who was already here a year. Who's X's class. So now watching film is something that they completely understand and know how to come back and respond from it.
There's probably games this year, I'm sure there are, when you've played better than the Texas game, but I'm not sure if you had a game, at least in the Big 12, where more guys contributed big to a win. You could run down, Cam, Barry, Dean, X, James Love, Mac Maween, Cam Stokes. Is that the most balanced effort you think you've had this year, or at least in the conference play?
You know what? I guess we just want to win,
right?
And when you have so many people contribute, I think it makes everybody feel good because, regardless of what happened, when we came in the locker room, everybody was so happy for James,
right?
Because people got to see what we have been seeing, and he couldn't do it with injuries, and just us being extremely cautious with him. But he's humongous. He got great hands. He's around the rim, blocks some shots right away, alters some shots. Bamba's long, but Bamba doesn't have the girth and the physicality, the size that James has.
Right. That's what I was going to ask about next. We talked about he got 15 minutes, made all 3 of his shots, and you've talked some about he hadn't been healthy to practice and that kind of stuff. But how big could that game be for just his confidence and belief in himself?
We hope it is a springboard for him because he plays hard. He's a kid that he may make mistakes, but he's playing really hard when he's making them. So kind of overcome some of his shortcomings, and really, he just needs experience and playing time and court time more than anything.
You mentioned, Cardi being, a freshman, but in, Xavier's class and really a sophomore in that way. He bounced back last night after having a rough stretch. I imagine he was pretty happy with the way he played.
Yeah, we needed him to come back. He'd had some struggles, and you're a good player, and it doesn't go your way. The mind games creep in, and then you doubt. And then that's the worst thing for a basketball player is to doubt whether or not you can make a shot, doubt whether or not you're a good player. We have just a confidence builder. Confidence is one made shot away. You make one shot, it changes, or confidence is one defensive stop away, it changes. Just one thing can change the demeanor of a team, good or bad.
Another guy in that same token I was curious about was Bryce Brown. He had a rough stretch against KU West Virginia, and then he got back to beat himself last night a little bit against Texas. He's probably more confident than some, but did he need that too?
He just needed to see positive plays happen for him. So he was so bad at West Virginia, he knew it. He's a dude who says, "I'm gonna get it right." When he's wrong, he says he'll get it right, and now that we've seen him grow and mature, he normally does, and that's a good thing for your leader, because he'll call himself out in front of those guys and tell them, "I got to be better. It starts with me." When I've done this a long time. Very few teams, the best player will say, or one of the best players will say, "Hey, it's on me, and I'm gonna change it," and he does it all the time.
I'm curious, of course, about everyone's asked about Cam, as well. Through 2 games back, I think 7 assists and only 2 turnovers. So that part of the game's still there, but still getting back with the shooting stroke and everything like that.
I think it's time. He wants to hit his gears, hit his turbo button, and he just can't get there. And that's when you're a fast person, and a big part of who you are is being able to get to fast really quick. He has to take his time, and we just told him to be a passer. Make shots that come to you. Don't try to make things happen, especially when you're not feeling comfortable. And you can't do the things that you do well.
Right. It's funny, we talk about all these players, and I haven't mentioned, Dean Wade yet, and he was the leading scorer last night and had 16. Do you think fans could start even taking him for granted, like I just did, and didn't bring him up until the end because of how consistent he is?
Well, I mean, so we complain about him. Everybody complained about him be a go-to guy, and now that he is, you lose stuff to complain about. With him, and now he's where he is, and you just got to continue. We've got to continue to lean on him and use his abilities, because he is a good player. Not very many guys his size can do the things he can do offensively. Right. And you got to give him credit. He's had some bad games in his career, and they were very public and very visible, and he's grown up from that, and that's what you want. Yeah. Like sometimes when that happens, dudes transfer because they can't take the heat, they can't take people criticizing, they can't take the fact that that they're supposed to be this guy and it hadn't happened yet. Right. Well, they may. I don't think I'm going to change it. Maybe it'll happen somewhere else. And obviously, he stuck with it and become the player that we all thought he could be.
A real important question. I imagine the era you grew up in, you know every word of the song, right? Right now.
I'm surprised that it's on.
I know, I heard it too, and I thought.
It made me stop. I was like, wait a minute, is that Fresh Prince of Bel-Air?
Exactly. You look ahead to Texas Tech, and you mentioned how they make you concerned because they've probably been the best team in the league throughout the course of the season. Early on, you wonder, well, maybe it's just, fluke's the wrong word, but perhaps they're playing over their head. Now, this far in, they're 8-3, first in the league. How good are they?
They're good, and they play a lot of people. They play very small at times, and they try to make you come down to them. I think when they've lost, people have fought them and made them try to play a certain way. They're very good at making you change your schemes and forgetting your game plan and get to go and do what they want you to do. And I think we got caught up in that the first time. We did what they wanted to dictate the first half. In the second half, we settled in and ran stuff and got what we needed. Right. And I think we had a chance to I think we cut it to 5 down the stretch. And, we had a couple turnovers. And I think that's when we started to see, okay, Cardi's got a chance if we give him extended minutes. Well, we have to because Cam's going to be out. and it was beneficial to him to get game experience. And now you look at the games we've won; he's been really good in those games.
You look. This is the first kind of game this year where you have a chance to play against a team. Obviously, you played against Kansas twice, but the first game you almost won. You played against West Virginia twice. The first game you were right there. This is kind of the first team you're getting a second shot at who kind of handled you guys the first time. I know you talked about you guys did close the gap in the second half, but you get the sense the team's excited to get another chance at Texas Tech after how that game went in Lubbock.
So we flashed some things on the screen and scouting for it, watching film. At 3 in the morning, I'm watching the film and it goes. We have the video copy of the managers taping the game.
Right.
So there's no TV. So at timeouts, the managers will put the camera on the scoreboard.
Yep.
So we're watching film and I'm watching. And I see the camera go up and it said 15-2. I said, I thought we were playing better. I didn't remember it being that bad. Then I watched the film another timeout. It's 35-14. I was like, we were awful that game. So you got to clear the body when you lose like that. When you don't play as well as you want, it's got to leave your memory before it can leave the kids. And they've got to see that, okay, coach has moved on. He's all right. We're all right too then.
Right.
So that's kind of how we've kind of done it with the guys this whole year.
And we mentioned early at the start of this that you have to not focus too much on the high or on the low, but you guys are 6-5. You're 4th in the league. A huge game against a team that's 1st in the league, and then a stretch against teams that you've had some success against. I know you'd rather be better than 6-5, but in some ways, are you happy with where you're at going into this last stretch of the year?
You take some games back that you could, and you want to win them.
Right.
And nobody sets out to say, hey, we want to finish 4th.
Right.
So the biggest thing for us is that we know where we are right now, and we know what's ahead of us. But we got to make sure these guys are a one-game focused team the rest of the season, and not who we beat. Because if we look at who we beat, then we can't focus on what's in front of us.
Right.
Bruce is great at that. Coach people will say, well, you guys lost by 30. What's the silver lining? And he'll say something, and people will be like,
what did you talk? Yep.
But they think he won't criticize our guys, and that's what he's doing. He's not going to say, hey, we were awful. I mean, so-and-so should have played better. This guy played, and he'll say a fact that you'll be like, what?
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, now the fact's not on. Our guys didn't play well.
Right.
They're questioning, what is he talking about?
That's
he's
true.
very good at that.
Yeah.
And it's kind of been a criticism of his for a long time.
No, you're right.
But what he's doing is he's deflecting, because parents read that.
Yep.
So if he was like to say, gosh, Barry was terrible, guess who would be calling the next day? Barry Sr., why are you talking about my son?
Right.
On national TV, he's a veteran. He knows what to say. His mind thinks differently than people after losses. So that's why he says some things you're just like, what does that mean?
Well, and then too, you talked about earlier, Barry's the guy who probably doesn't need his coach to do that. It sounds like he'll go take care of that himself. I mean, for how he played, is that pretty fair to say?
Yeah, the next day, Barry will come back and say, CeeLo, I'm still cold. I'm like, what? You were terrible yesterday, Barry.
Yeah.
But I looked good when I was bad. And that's the type of person Barry is.
Right.
He it just washes right off of him, and he can come back and practice hard and tell you, at the point of the game, I really messed up right there.
Right.
Because Barry likes to watch film by himself. He doesn't want people around. He wants you to watch it with him, where you guys can talk, and he can speak freely and say stuff. And that's a very, very mature person, because most kids only want to watch when they make shots,
Of course, yeah.
Or when they miss them and be like, I could have made that. And Barry's opposite. He wants to see his flaws so he can correct them.
The last thing I'm curious about is you guys are basically now 500 on the road the last 2 years in the Big 12, where obviously getting road wins in the Big 12 is a big deal. Is there anything you can point to as to why this group has been relatively successful away from home when most teams struggle on the road in the Big 12?
The biggest thing is, I think we're 4-23.
Yeah, the 2 years prior.
Yeah, we're 4-23. When Cam went down as a freshman, our leadership was different than it is right now.
Yeah.
Our leadership is guys who've been there since their freshman year, who've been through not having one of their guys. So we know how to adapt. And Barry took the lead in that, and we adapted and we went forward. And a little bit of it is we're better. Those guys are better players.
Yeah.
And it has something to do with it. You know, when they came as freshmen in 13 games ago, we're right where we need to be to be on the bubble. Cam misses the last 13. No telling what we would have done if he plays those 13 games. Because in all actuality, he was better than Dean and Barry, and those two made all new Cam. Yeah. They made all new Cam. And he didn't just because he got cut short. And when you watched, he was the most important one during that time period.
Yep. Makes perfect sense, yeah. Hey, Coach, appreciate it again. Good luck on Saturday against Texas Tech.
Thank you.